Welcome to Beyond Origins, where we discover crazy facts. Today we're diving into one of history's most incredible rebellions. Seriously, it's a story of fierce warrior women, a revolution against a massive empire, and giant beasts of war that honestly feels like it was ripped straight out of a fantasy epic.
So, let me ask you a question. Who do you think holds the title for the most badass sister duo in all of history? It's a tough one, right? But I've got a serious contender for you today. A pair of sisters who didn't just challenge an empire, they actually brought it to its knees. Their names were Trung Trak and Trung Nhi.
To really get their story, you have to picture the scene. We're going all the way back to 1st century Vietnam. Now, at the time, Vietnam wasn't an independent country. It was under the, pretty harsh and dominating rule of the Han Chinese. We're talking a period of heavy taxes, forced cultural changes, and just this deep, simmering resentment among the Vietnamese people.
You know, huge revolutions often start with just a single spark, that one thing that finally ignites the flame. And for this one, that spark was incredibly personal and just unbelievably brutal. It was an act of oppression that would kick off a legendary uprising.
This is it. This is the moment everything changes. Trung Trak, who was a Vietnamese noblewoman, has to witness the absolute ultimate act of cruelty from her occupiers. They execute her husband just for speaking out. And right there, in that moment of grief and pure rage, a decision was made.
Yeah, she wasn't gonna mourn quietly. Not a chance. Instead, Trung Trak and her sister, Trung Nhi, took their personal tragedy and turned it into a cause for the entire nation. They decided to fight back. And this wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about fighting for the freedom of their people.
And let's be super clear here, this wasn't just some blind lashing out in anger. The sisters had the skills to make this rebellion a real, genuine threat. They weren't just angry, they were exceptionally capable. And they were so effective because they weren't just figureheads. I mean, get this. Both sisters were highly trained in martial arts. On top of that, they were considered experts in military strategy. So they had both the physical power and the tactical brains to actually command an army. And this is where their story becomes truly revolutionary. They didn't just put together a typical army. No, they organized a force where women held a ton of the key leadership positions. Now, this was pretty much unheard of for the Han culture they were fighting against, but it shows you something really interesting about early Vietnamese society, which often gave women a lot more authority.
Okay, we've got to dive into this next part because this is the image that has cemented their legend for centuries. If you thought an army with female commanders was impressive, just wait until you hear how they rode into battle.
You heard that right. This is not fantasy. This is actual history. The Trung sisters led their charges mounted on the backs of massive war elephants. Can you just imagine seeing that? Two women leading an army storming toward the enemy on top of these giant, unstoppable beasts. It's just incredible. And this tells you everything about their leadership style. They weren't sitting in the back, safe behind their troops. No way. They were right there on the front lines, leading the charge themselves, and personally helping to crush the Chinese garrisons that had taken over their homeland.
And that whole bold elephant-led strategy, well, it wasn't just for show. It was devastatingly effective. Their campaign just became this whirlwind of success that completely, utterly stunned the Han Chinese forces.
In a really short amount of time, the sisters and their army liberated 65 Chinese strongholds. They basically drove the occupiers clean out of the region and took back their land.
And what was their very first act after this unbelievable victory? Well, they were declared queens, and their immediate priority was to get rid of the horrible, oppressive taxes the Han had forced on their people. It just goes to show you, their fight was truly for the common person.
But of course, an empire as big as Han China doesn't just let a province go. The sisters' amazing success meant that the emperor was now going to send his absolute best to crush them. Their victory had basically set the stage for an even bigger showdown, a face-off against a legendary Chinese general.
And that's actually where we're going to leave their story for today. It really makes you wonder, though, doesn't it? With a story this incredible, warrior queens, female commanders, elephant cavalry, why are some of history's greatest tales like this one so often forgotten or just left as footnotes? It's a powerful question to think about. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, then please subscribe and press the bell icon so you don't miss any updates.